To keep an eye here on this storm, as every storm's different. Every storm has a different path, every storm has a different track and characteristics as far as where the wind and the water are located. Well, right now the storm is up to hurricane status, and over the last few hours, notice the blow up of convection right there south of the Cayman Islands. When you get those bright red clouds showing up on the IR satellite, that's the intensification. That's a storm that's becoming much healthier, and you can see that feathering on the south side with the white clouds. Watch it right there. That's showing that the outflow is establishing itself. The storm is venting, and that means it can strengthen now and do so rapidly. Plenty of heat content there in the water with water temperatures the hottest in the basin. And as far as what we've got wind speed wise right now, 75 miles per hour, and the forecast track is going to take this storm and continue to move it over Cuba and eventually right off the Florida coastline. Now the cone goes anywhere here from DeSoto and Hardee County out towards the central part of the Gulf of Mexico. And even if this were a perfect forecast from the National Hurricane Center and it doesn't move at all over the next couple of advisories, we are still going to feel impacts here in southwest Florida. Tropical storm force winds, heavy rain, and the likelihood to pick up a tornado watch box or two before this storm moves on out. Here's a little closer look at it, and you can see right there a category 4 to 3 off our coastline Wednesday afternoon and overnight Thursday. And notice the interval lines getting a little closer together. The forecast calls for this storm to actually slow down a little bit. The steering currents weaken for a bit before it picks up speed. The more it slows, the more water gets slammed along the coastline, and we get prolonged storm surge, and also the heavy rain and flooding really becomes a concern. Now at 5 o'clock this morning, a hurricane watch was issued from Inglewood northbound through Tampa Bay, and we have a tropical storm watch from Inglewood south down towards Chokoloskee. So that is those are the areas that we're watching, and for most of southwest Florida, we are right there under that tropical storm force watch. Now surge on the right side of circulation with the storm where Ian is forecast to travel. We're looking at 5 to 8 feet there, roughly from Sarasota north to Tampa. Most of southwest Florida, 4 to 7, and then to the south 3 to 5 along Collier and mainland Monroe County, and that's right there along the coast. Now we've been talking about the models the last couple of days, and up through tomorrow afternoon, the European in the blue and the GFS in the yellow, pretty good there on not only the timing, but they're pretty consistent on location. Now from this point forward, the GFS is leaning still a little bit to the east, but notice how they've come together over the last couple of days. That's why the consensus forecasting of staying right down the blend of the models is so important to what the Hurricane Center does. And then by Friday, the storm beginning to lift north, and we'll continue to see some of those feeder bands wrapping on through. And to give you another perspective on how the storm looks, once it gets off our coastline, you see those tropical storm force winds extending inland, Highlands County, Lake Okeechobee, the stronger tropical storm force winds there in the orange, which are going to be hugging the coastline. And it's once you get in those strong tropical storm force winds that you typically start to see some power outages. So the impacts here from Tuesday evening on through Thursday, well, right now the wind moderate, but any movement east or west, we would have to adjust this graphic. Surge high along the coast. Flooding will be a concern here as we are looking at, again, 8 to 10 inches with some spots getting 15, and we'll keep you updated on the isolated tornadoes. If you've got your phone in your hand, I want you to take it out. Scan this code, this QR code on the screen. That is the link that's going to take you over to our Hurricane Center checklist, help you prepare, and of course, advisory by advisory, all the latest information out there. And Lauren, I know we still have a day or so to go here to check our local weather.
Yeah, we have our local weather and also traffic. If you take a look at both right here in one picture, you can see things are pretty smooth. I-75 near Daniels Parkway. That's mile marker 130. A little cloudy out there as you have Ian that is well to the south of us, but it's still pumping in a little bit of moisture into our area, waking up with plenty of cloud coverage. A couple of showers down in Marco Island. Those have since dissipated as they crossed over your area. Temperatures also on the rise. It's a little warm out there now. So inland areas are going to be sitting in the mid 70s, 76 right now over in LaBelle, 77 in Fort Myers, 80 all the way down in Marco Island. As we head through the rest of today, that cloud coverage going to continue to build in. By noon, we're looking at only partly sunny skies. And then after about 2 o'clock, that's when we'll start to see a couple of isolated storms becoming more widespread storms and showers through our inland areas, through our coastal communities, dissipating around 8, 9 o'clock. But take a look, that moisture in the cloud coverage from Ian as it inches closer to the Gulf of Mexico, going to move in overnight. So we're going to see on and off showers showers as we head into the overnight hours. That continues into tomorrow morning and afternoon. Gusty conditions and also those storms and showers really going to pick up late Tuesday into Wednesday. Trent kind of just touched on that timeline with you. Not only are we watching the rain and also the gusty conditions, but also your wave heights as it's going to get choppy out there. So I think this is probably one of the last days we're going to see our marine forecast look so favorable with seas a foot or less, a light chop on your inland waters, and the wind coming out of the southeast up to about 10 knots. Could start to get a little gustier out on the waters later on tonight, though. So for today's highs, capping out in the upper 80s. This is, of course, because of those afternoon storms and showers and that cloudiness that we were just talking about. Isolated showers, maybe even a few storms as we head into the overnight hours, with those temperatures falling into the mid 70s. Timeline-wise, it's going to be tomorrow. We're going to start to deal with those tropical storm conditions, possibly becoming more hurricane-like conditions by Wednesday as we start to see Ian move through the Gulf of Mexico and to the north of us. As it pulls away, we'll start to see more favorable conditions that'll start Friday and into your next weekend.